Good day to you. My name is Teacher Arvin, and I am very excited to bring you today's lesson. So, set your mind, ready your heart, and brace yourselves, for we will take the journey to discover the Week 8 of 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the world. Before we will start with our discussion, let us have first a short recap of the previous topics we've discussed. Alright, so for our recap, I'm gonna show you words or group of words that you need to discuss. Let us have the first group of words. We have the pre-colonial literature. What have you learned from the pre-colonial period in the Philippines? Alright, that's correct. Now, let us move on to the next one, which is the Spanish period in the Philippines. Okay, very good. That's also correct. This time, let us move on to the next period, which is the American period. Okay, that's correct. Now, how about the Japanese occupation in the Philippines? Okay, very good. Now, how about the contemporary period in the Philippines? That's nice. Okay, I can see that you have really learned a lot from the previous topics. Alright, so before we will start with our discussion proper, let us first play the game 4 Picks 1 Word. Are you guys familiar with the game 4 Picks 1 Word? Okay, that's correct. That you really need to guess the 4 pictures of how they are correlated with each other. Are you ready? Let us start with the first 4 group of pictures. What do you think is the correct answer? That is right. The correct answer that we have is lines. Now, how about the second group of pictures? What do you think is the correct answer? Okay, very good. The correct answer is persona. Now, let us move on to the third group of pictures. What do you think is the correct answer? Okay, that is correct. We have the word language. Now, how about the last group of pictures that we have on our screen? Can you guess the correct answer? Okay, that's correct. The correct answer here is the word kalbayog. Alright, so for this morning, we will tackle a literary piece that is originated here in Calbayog City. But before that, let us first discuss the 4 pictures that we have on our screen. Alright, so let us have the first picture. Okay, that's correct. We have Benedicto Nihaga. Are you familiar with Benedicto Nihaga? Okay, that's correct. Now, Benedicto Nihaga is one of the 13 martyrs in Cavite, but originally, he's from Calbayog City. And the reason as to why they migrated in Cavite because of the widespread cholera in Calbayog City. Now, the second picture we have is Paulo Avellino. Okay, Paulo Avellino is a great-grandson of Jose Avellino, the first Senate President that we have here in Calbayog City. Alright, so the third picture we have is the bayog plant. Now, the bayog plant grows from 10 meters or 1,000 centimeters. Okay, the last picture that we have on our screen is Nemesio Totoy Baldesco. Now, the topic that we will focus on this morning is about Nemesio Totoy Baldesco, one of the literary authors that we have here in Regionate, specifically here in Calbayog City. Are you ready to learn for the new lessons that we will discuss this morning? Okay, let us all start with our discussion. For today's objectives, we will focus on identifying representative texts and authors from each region, and we will engage in oral history research with focus on key personalities from students' region, province, and town. And for our sub-objectives, we will learn to appreciate the backgrounds of literature of Region 8 and identify the basic or elicit the 5 basic elements of poetry from the Siday of Nemesio Totoy Baldesco. Before we will proceed to our discussion about the Siday of Nemesio Totoy Baldesco, let us first discuss the 5 basic elements of poetry. We have the first one, which is the rhyme. Second, we have stanza. Third, we have persona. Fourth, we have language and theme or theme. And lastly, we have the tone. Alright, so this time I have here 4 envelopes that I'll be giving out to each group. What you will do next is I'll be giving you 10 minutes to construct your thoughts out from the given topics. As I made mention a while ago, where you are going to discuss the 5 basic elements of poetry. Then after 10 minutes, that's the time that you will discuss in front of the class the following 5 basic elements of poetry.
Rhyme is the repetition of syllables, typically at the end of a verse line. Rhymed words conventionally share all sounds following the word's last stressed syllable. Rhyme is one of the first poetic devices that we become familiar with, but it can be a tricky poetic device to work with. As James Carter says, lazy rhyme is a poetry crime. There are different types of rhyme, and many poems, especially sonnets and sestinas, follow strict rhyme schemes with regular patterns. Types of rhyme include full rhyme, cat/hat/dog/log. Half or para-rhyme, catch-hit, lover/river. Internal rhyme, rhyme that does not occur at the end of the line. The usual place rhyme is found. Today, as I walked, the large black cat tipped his hat at me and smiled. Rhyming patterns can be in couplets where pairs of lines rhyme, or can be alternate where every other line rhymes. Some people believe poetry must rhyme, but an exploration of the work of many modern poets reveals poems that don't rhyme at all, or play with more traditional rhyme schemes. Comic verse is the type of contemporary poetry that is most likely to rhyme.
A stanza is a unit of lines in poetry. Just like we use paragraphs in prose, and verses in songs, stanzas are units that give a poem structure. They guide the reader from one idea to the next. There are no rules about how many stanzas are in a poem. A poem can consist of a single stanza or make up an entire book full of stanzas. It all depends on how many stanzas are needed to convey the poem's idea, message, or feeling. Stanzas, like poems, come in all shapes and sizes. There are many different types, and they are often classified by meters, rhyme schemes, or how many groups of lines they have. Here are some different types of stanzas. Monostic, a one-line stanza. Monostic can also be an entire poem. Couplet, a stanza with 2 lines that rhyme. Tercet, a stanza with 3 lines that either all rhyme or the first and the third line rhyme, which is called an ABA rhyming pattern. A poem made up of tercets and concludes with a couplet is called a terza rima. Quatrain, a stanza with 4 lines with the second and fourth lines rhyming. Quinton, a stanza with 5 lines. Sestet, a stanza with 6 lines. Septet, a stanza with 7 lines. This is sometimes called a rhyme royal. Octave, a stanza with 8 lines written in iambic pentameter, or 10-syllable beats per line. The more lines a stanza has, the more varieties of rhyme and meter patterns. For example, ottava rima is an 8-line stanza with a specific rhyme scheme in which the first 6 lines have an alternating rhyme pattern and a couplet as the final 2 lines.
A persona is an invented perspective that a writer uses. The point of view might be entirely different than their own. It also refers to the speaker or narrator in a poem, play perspective. A persona in poetry refers to a fictional character or mask assumed by the poet to speak in a or perspective, distinct from their own.
Language or theme in a poem refers to the underlying message, idea, or central topic that the poem addresses. It is the deeper meaning that the poet is trying to convey or explore through their words.
Tone, the poet's attitude toward the poem's speaker, reader, and subject matter, as interpreted by the reader, often described as a mood that pervades the experience of reading the poem. It is created by the poem's vocabulary, metrical regularity or irregularity, syntax, use of figurative language, and rhyme.
This time, let us proceed to our examples. What we will do is that we will identify the different basic elements of poetry from the examples that I will be reading. Let us start with the stanza, persona, and the rhyme. We will read the poem My Little Angel by Jason A. Hodges, and later on, I will be asking you about the type of stanza used in the poem and the rhyme present in the poem and the persona of the poem. Are you ready? My Little Angel by Jason A. Hodges. When you were born you filled my heart with pride, and I was overcome by the joy I felt inside. As I held you in my arms that very first day, I knew I would never let any harm way. With your tiny little hands and tiny little feet, every time I look at you my heart skips a beat. As I watch you sleep in the middle of the night, I hope and pray I will do everything right. Alright, this time let us elicit the rhyme, the stanza, and the persona in the poem. Rhyme. My Little Angel, by Jason A. Hodges primarily follows an AABB rhyme scheme, where the end words of every two lines rhyme with each other. For example, pride, A. Inside, A. Day, B. Way, B. Feet, B. Beat, B. Night, A. Right, A. Persona. The persona of the poem seems to be a parent, likely a father, addressing their newborn child. The speaker expresses feelings of pride, joy, and a deep sense of responsibility and love for their angel. The language and sentiments conveyed suggest a parental perspective, creating a tender and protective tone. Stanza type, octave. An octave is a stanza with 8 lines. Based on the excerpt provided, the poem, My Little Angel, is strictly an octave in its entirety. An octave typically refers to a stanza with 8 lines. Now, we have 8 lines, forming an octave. Each stanza in a poem contributes to the overall structure and flow, and in this case, the poem may be considered an octave to establish a balance and completeness in the expression of the speaker's feelings toward the angel. The decision to structure a poem as an octave could be a stylistic choice made by the poet. Octaves often provide a sense of closure and can create a cohesive unit of thought or emotion. It's a common structure in various poetic forms and can contribute to the rhythm and harmony of the poem. Now that we are done with our examples on stanza, rhyme, and persona, let us proceed to our examples, under language or theme and the tone of the poem. Now, let us read the poem of The Mothering Job by Marion N. Carey. I watched my mom fill out an application. I looked at the line that asks about professions. I thought to myself, that space is too small to write down what she's been, to cover it all. She was a nurse when I fell and scraped my knee. She was a maid when I didn't wipe my feet. She was a designer when my clothes didn't match. She was a tailor when my pants a patch. She was a teacher when I asked a question. She was a priest when I had a confession. She was a psychiatrist when I came home crying. She was a preacher when I got caught lying. She was a singer when she sung me to sleep. She was a lifeguard when she said the water's too. There are many more, yet the best one to me, she was a best friend and mine forever she'll be. Now, based from the poem that we read, what do you think is the language or theme of the poem and the tone present in the poem? Okay, that is correct. Language/theme. The language and theme of Mothering Job by Marion N. Carey revolve around the multifaceted roles and responsibilities of a mother. The poem uses a variety of professions and activities to metaphorically represent the diverse tasks and nurturing qualities that a mother performs in the speaker's life. The theme celebrates the many roles a mother plays, showing her as a versatile and indispensable figure in the speaker's upbringing and life. Tone.
The tone of the poem is affectionate, appreciative, and nostalgic. The speaker fondly reflects on the different professions their mother has taken on in the course of raising and caring for them. The tone is filled with gratitude and love, emphasizing the importance of the mother's role and the enduring bond between the speaker and their mother. There's a warmth in the tone that comes from the recognition of the mother's diverse roles and the deep connection between parent and child. Alright, now that we are done with our discussion on the different basic elements of poetry and its examples, this time let us proceed to backgrounds of the literature in Region 8. Eastern Visayas is composed of the islands of Samar, Leyte, Biliran and the smaller outlying islands. It is made up of 6 provinces, namely Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Samar, Biliran, Leyte, and Southern Leyte. Earliest accounts of East Visayan literature date back to 1668. Father Ignacio Francisco Alzina documented the poetic forms such as the Kandu, Haya, Ambahan, Kanagan, Baikal, Balak, Awit and Saidai. Saidai. A piece of writing that partakes of the nature of both speech and song that is nearly always rhythmical, usually metaphorical, and often exhibits such formal elements as meter, rhyme, and stanza structure. Nemesio, Totoi Baldesco. Tricycle, Padiak, driver from Calbayog City. Won the Jimmy Y. Balakit Special Award on Poetry in the concluded 17th Iligan National Writers' Workshop held at the Mindanao State University, Iligan City on May 23 to 28, 2010, 68 years old. Calbayog City. Baldesco was given with such commendable award by the panel of critics from big universities in the country for his craftsmanship in his poem, Sikad, which talks about the life of a tricycle driver who takes pain in earning money just to feed his family and send his children to school. Eliciting the 5 basic elements of poetry. Alright, now that we are done introducing our literary writer from Region 8, let us move on to eliciting the 5 basic elements of the poetry from the poem of Nemesio Totoi Baldesco, Sikad, but before we will read the poem let us first unlock some difficult words from the poem, which later will us understand fully the Saidai, Sikad of Nemesio Totoi Baldesco. Unlocking of difficulties. Sikad, kick. Rapadapa, foot. Angera, goal. Namarisbis, stinky. Nahaganas, affected. Abadle, tiredness/fatigue. Najarapo, nawawara. Mataruto, industrious. Makaplagan, achieve. Mapamamat, legacy. Cabos, poor. Rayandayan, up to now. Naradar, inherit. Gontos, sacrifices. Nagtugwe, reason.
Sikad Nemesio, Totoi Baldesco March 20, 10. Sikad Akon Rapadapa, sa pagkaboti san angera, na pamilya makakan, aga, udto, panihapan. Namarisbis adton balhas, bison hanjan nahaganas, labis na con pasahero, and tracikal da cargado. Mga kabadle najarapo, con mga anak mataruto, adton hinyap makabutan, edukasian makaplagan, k asila mapamamat, mangad dire makakawat, rayandayan kami kabos, naradar mga pagantos. Sa ak dumdum and patyawe, da ginlamat medalye, k angera and nagtugwe, makabutan san pagbudle. In your steno notebook, answer the following questions. How many lines are there in each stanza? What type of stanza is used in the stanza? Who is the persona in the poem? What do you think is the theme or language of the poem? What is the tone of the poem? How does the poet describe the life of a tricycle, padyak, driver? What's the rhyming pattern used in the poem?
Thank you for watching and have a great day. Again, I'm Teacher Arvin. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!